Hi, I'm Dustin Abbott, and I'm here today to give you a first look at the brand new little tiny 45mm f2.8 lens from Sigma. And this is a first of a batch of 3 lenses that are specifically designed for Sony FE and then also sold in a Leica L mount as well. And so it represents a new development for Sigma, as to this point what we have gotten on Sony, at least where I'm reviewing, is we have gotten lenses that essentially are, kind of recycled, adapted existing lenses. And as such, the focus motors are not really optimized for Sony. Their size is not really optimized for a smaller mirrorless body, and in fact they end up being physically larger and heavier than their DSLR counterparts. In this case, however, you can tell that this is a purpose-designed lens for Sigma, and out of the new lenses that they are releasing right now, which also includes a 14 to 24mm f2.8 Art Series lens, which I love their existing 14 to 24, so I have high hopes for that, but also a 35mm f1.2, which also seems very, very intriguing. This, however, is going for those that are looking for a smaller, lighter option. Now, I just got through wrapping up an extended review series that many of you may have already seen of a Samyang 45mm f1.8, also for Sony FE. So the Samyang is similarly small and compact, as we're going to see today. It's also less expensive, $399. Compared to $549 for this Sigma. So we're going to see if Sigma has something to offer that the Samyang does not. And so we'll explore that today as we look at the build and the handling of this lens. So let's jump in and let's take a look at the feature set and what you are getting in this compact little lens. Okay, let's take a closer look at the new 45mm f2.8 here. And so Sigma has actually taken a really unique approach to this particular lens that kind of diverges from any of their other lenses that I've previously seen. First of all, they have included a aperture ring with 1/3 stop detent, and so that's always nice to have. And you have the option to go into auto mode and control it from in the camera, just like you can with any kind of normal lens. And so this is a feature that's typically, as far as on the Sony front, only seen on the more premium lenses. And so nice to see that there, nice touch there. Now, here you have focus by wire. So the focus ring is here. Now, there's some good and some bad here. Okay, so this is, as I noted, focus by wire, and so there is nice damping to it. It's actually a little bit on the heavy side, but it's good. I find that it emulates manual focus fairly well. The challenge is that there is, as you can see, without the lens hood, it's no problem. You got plenty of room to grab that. With the lens hood on, however, it's really quite a tight fit, and so it's not a natural thing to reach up there and grab. And so, the small nature of the lens means that using that manual focus ring can be a bit of a challenge. And it can also be a challenge, depending on how your gearing system is, just because it's so narrow in there. Now, I will note that everything here is really premium in terms of the build. Even the lens hood is actually made out of metal. And again, it's a unique lens hood from any other Sigma lens that I've used before. And so really, really nicely made, really high-grade materials there. The body of the lens itself is all metals, and then we do have a weather sealing gasket here. And so we've got some weather sealing on the lens, and so that does differentiate it from, say, the Samyang 45mm f1.8 that I just reviewed. Now, taking a look up front, we have got a 55mm front filter thread, and what is somewhat unique for a Sigma lens, we've actually got 7 aperture blades here. Typically, most Sigma lenses that I review have 9 aperture blades, and so that is a little bit of a departure for them. Nice pinch cap, everything there is good. And of course, the overall dimensions of the lens are really quite diminutive. Now, the interesting thing is that with the lens hoods on, the lenses are almost identical in terms of length. However, the Samyang has a really shallow, very small lens hood, whereas it's much more robust on the Sigma. And so if you remove those, the Sigma lens is considerably shorter. And so just to give you an idea of the dimensions, it's 2.52 inches or 64 millimeters in diameter. It is 1.82 inches or 46.2 millimeters in length, and so really compact there. To give you a size comparison, the Samyang is 2.3 inches in diameter or 61.8 millimeters, so roughly 2 millimeters less around in diameter, and that's reflected in the fact that it's got a 49 millimeter front filter thread as opposed to a 55 millimeter. And it is a little bit longer, however. It is 2.21 inches or 56.1 millimeters, so almost 10 millimeters longer in the actual lens. And if you remove the actual lens caps and you kind of equalize everything, you can see there is a significant difference in length. Both lenses are still obviously really compact. And if you're using the Sigma with the lens hood attached and the Samyang with the lens hood attached, they become, you know, more similar than different. Obviously, the Sigma has the better build, much more feature rich. All you've got here is the focus ring on the Samyang, and it doesn't even have the autofocus on-off switch that is there on the Sigma. So Sigma's actually packed a lot into this particular lens. You know, one could argue almost too much when you consider how little room you have to operate the manual focus ring, but I really like the design aspects of the lens. It's very, very feature rich. Now, you know, because it has more metals in its construction, there is some metal, but also some engineered plastics. The Samyang is the lighter of the two lenses. It weighs in at 5.71 ounces or 162 grams. The Sigma is also very light. It's 7.58 ounces or 215 grams. And so for having such a high grade of build, it's actually quite a lightweight lens. Now, one area where the lenses are not at all similar is in their ability to focus down closely. And so in the case of the Sigma, you can actually focus down to 9.45 inches or 24 centimeters, whereas the Samyang is almost twice that. It's almost 1.5 feet or 45 centimeters. And so, you know, we're talking about 21 centimeters less that it can focus down, and that's reflected in their magnification, whereas the Samyang is only a 0.12 times magnification. The Sigma is actually a really useful, very respectable 0.25 times magnification, and so obviously much more useful when it comes to that. Beyond that, they both have, you know, same minimum aperture, which is f/22, but of course quite a different maximum aperture, f/1.8 on the Samyang, and only f/2.8 on the Sigma, which is, you know, in many ways kind of its biggest drawback. Now, whenever I look at a prime lens that has a maximum aperture that is no faster than that of zoom lenses, namely f/2.8, so what I want to know is, what does this lens have to offer that I can't get from a zoom lens? And so over the rest of this review period, we will be trying to take a look at that. And so is the compact size enough? Maybe. But what I also want to see is whether or not it brings something optically to the table that an f/2.8 lens can't do. So stay tuned as we try to answer that question in our next video episode, as we will compare it not only to the Samyang 45 millimeter, and we'll break down then independently this image quality on its own, but I also want to see how it compares to that Tamron 28 to 75 millimeter, and you know, and see if, you know, it does something that the Tamron can't. So stay tuned for that. In the meantime, if you look in the description down below, there is a linkage to my image gallery, so you can check out photos that I've been taking with the lens. There is also linkage there if you'd like to order one for yourself from various retailers, and by doing so, you help to support this channel. Beyond that, of course, you can follow me on social media or become a patron and get advanced screenings of upcoming content. And you can sign up for my newsletter, and if you haven't already, please click that subscribe button right here on YouTube. Thanks for watching. Have a great day.